you're spending time in Latin America teaching men and women business principles. Tell me about that.
I went on a mission trip down to Honduras, and we would teach entrepreneurs about specific things. I'd teach about bookkeeping, and just saw their passion, to want to succeed. A lot of people are leaving the country to get different jobs or make more money somewhere else, but there's a lot of them there that are being resilient and staying and saying, hey, I'm going to make this work somehow. And I just love the passion they had. Also, the program we had, they were building their business around God. But then, like, your time's invaluable too. So, like, you can't just say my time doesn't cost anything, because it's costing to the business. So you have to put a dollar amount on that. Deciding what that dollar amount is kind of hard sometimes, because you feel like you're saving money by doing it yourself, but you could be costing yourself money by not letting somebody else do it. You can have great revenue, but if you're not, turning a profit, or the product's not priced right, it can be, devastating.
Doug, I'm super excited that you are here on this next episode of Marketplace Kings. And when I think of a kingdom-minded entrepreneur, I think of you. And I know we've known each other for a while, and I'm excited for you to tell your story here on the podcast. And so I'm just going to welcome you with that. So thanks for joining.
Thanks, Richie. It's great to be here. I love what you're doing in the Kingdom Marketplace, and just looking forward to being a part of that.
Yeah. And let me give you a quick introduction for the people that are listening. And like I said, when I think of a kingdom-minded, a business leader, entrepreneur who's just in the trenches, man, I think you're doing it really well. So Doug Hupp is the founder of Profit Ready Books, which is a bookkeeping and financial advisory company. He's also the CFO and co-owner of Yellowstone Dreamin Retreat Adventures, which is a seasonal adventure and glamping business in Montana. You also spend your extra time teaching men and women in Latin America other business principles. And throughout your career, you spent 15 years in the QuickBooks ecosystem, and included in that you spent 4 years with Intuit, working with Intuit, which is a company that owns QuickBooks. So not only do you understand financial management, you understand the software, but you also understand it from a business owner perspective, and that brings you a wealth of knowledge to your clients. So how in the world did you get led into your career from QuickBooks to glamping to bookkeeping? Where does this all start?
I've had my part in corporate life, but then also worked for a lot of family-owned businesses. And when you're working for a family-owned business, not necessarily my family, but a friend's family, you get you're in the trenches, kind of doing a little bit of everything, like a general manager, working with HR, and I was always one that ended up working with the accountant for some reason, and I kind of found I loved working with numbers, and got into QuickBooks a long time ago, and kind of never left it from a business principle of using financials. Loved working with it, and we were in pest control at the time, and we also did Christmas lights, and we grew all that and ended up selling the businesses. And so that kind of gave me some financial means to do something different. And, I just pursued learning more about QuickBooks and trying to help small businesses be successful. And so by starting my own businesses, that really, helped me focus on those, and kind of learning the numbers and trying to be successful on my own with my own kind of business with my siblings. I have a sister that lives in Montana, and she's been in the hotel industry for 25 years. And then my twin brother, he's got a full-time corporate job with an oil company, but we decided we'd partner all together and kind of make an experience for people to come, get a great feel for Montana and Yellowstone National Park.
I've never been to Yellowstone, but I've wanted to go. We actually, Amy and I sat down the other day, just kind of mapping out some road trips that we want to do in the coming years. So it sounds Yellowstone sounds really cool. Where is the glamping business in Yellowstone?
We're right by the north entrance to Yellowstone National Park. We're about 26 miles, so it's a little bit, probably about a 30-minute drive, but it's through Paradise Valley, next to the Yellowstone River. So it's a great place to be.
So when you say glamping, what's glamping? Is it more than just a tent?
Yeah, we have our tents are like huge canvas tents. We built them on lodgepole pines. Uh, it's like a hotel room in a tent. We got a king
Hmm.
size bed in all of them, queen size bed, and even a couch, desk, small refrigerator, and we run it like a hotel, so it's real nice. All white linens, so it's camping, but you know we make it nice, and it's an experience that people love.
The kind of camping my wife and I probably like to do. We love watching the YouTube travel vlogs and people who live out of their van. But let me tell you, we think about like buying a van and doing that, but we we quickly come to the conclusion, I don't think we can live in that small space and live out with all the bugs.
Right? Yeah. So it's just creates a temporary atmosphere that's a great experience to enjoy the outdoors, and especially Montana. It's so beautiful.
So you've been an entrepreneur, working with the family's business, and then as an entrepreneur for most of your career. What's the hardest? What's the hardest thing about being an entrepreneur?
Well, I would say probably time management and direction. Just like what do you want to focus on? Like as an entrepreneur, I think you have so many ideas and thoughts and ways you could maybe generate revenue, or maybe you're not doing something right, and then trying to get one focus at a time. I guess that's what my struggle is. I've got
Mm,
you're wearing so many different hats, trying to do so many different things, but how many of them can you do successfully and um, truly manage yourself?
right. Even from a small business perspective, I realized that you gravitate to what you like to do, even though you have to wear all these hats. You still gravitate to the work that you enjoy. So for me, I think that when I look back, it was marketing. It was like that side of the business. Even though I had to do operations, I had to do sales and cheerlead the sales and even understand the finances. But I think when it came down to it, it was marketing. When I also worked with a few other clients that are like in a similar um, capacity of what I was, you know, they they gravitate to something totally different than I did. So even though they have a very similar role in the business, they really this person that I'm thinking of really likes data. So his passion's the data side, and so he's known as the data analyst and within the business, even though he's high up and basically runs it as well. So going back to your Yellowstone adventure business, how what have you learned there that you're able to translate into profit ready books? Because I'm sure that the accounting of a glamping business, hospitality business, how can you how how can you translate that into profit ready books?
Well, yeah, for us up in Montana, it's a seasonal business. We already operate year round for tours, but there's just a huge, massive amount of people coming at the same time, and cash flow. I think it's always people say, where did my cash go? And so planning for seasonality is a huge thing I learned. And if you don't have your books ready, then you don't know what that seasonality is going to look like, what you need the cash flow to be to make it to the next season where you're actually going to have revenue, cash coming in. And we had some times that we had the flood at the north entrance, which caused us to really struggle in cash flow. But at that time, we were able to get people to come into the tours because they couldn't go into the park through the entrance without a guide. And so we had guides that helped us, keep everybody whole during the flood. We had a ton of cancellations for our retreat and even the tours because people thought Yellowstone was closed at the time. But I learned a lot just from that we'd had bookings for the season, and some people prepay part of it 50% down, and it was a struggle to make it through the season. But thank goodness we were able to take people into the park with our guides, which kept them employed, but also brought us revenue to keep the employees at our retreat going, even though we didn't have a lot of bookings. So, it was a struggle, but it was something. Being in the financials, we knew we could make it, and so it was without knowing that pre-planning to make it through just something that you have no control over. Is it was good to have the information at hand. Yeah, a lot of people are always looking at their financials in the past, and it's that's where I'm kind of trying to create my focus now. Is let's look at the future. Let's look at let's make decisions on the past. But if your past's not accurate, then you're making bad decisions. So, but if
Right.
we can keep them current as much as possible, and accurate, then you can really make decisions moving forward.
So is that through forecasting what and setting goals and what the vision is of the future? Is that how you take? What kind of approach do you take in profit ready books now that you're
Or,
working with clients?
we're trying to work to create like a dashboard for each business so they can kind of look at their financials real time, as close to real time as possible. But also, yeah, forecasting and budgeting. A lot of people have like their personal budget, but they don't have a budget for a business, and that's something to look at. Even if it's just goals and you don't meet them, at least you've got a target to aim towards. And
Hmm.
yeah, so kind of pre-planning can help you be more successful in the real time.
So I mean that's one area I learned going into corporate is the forecasting budgeting is huge in that world, and it's a small business. I'll just lump most small business owners are trying to make it day to day, and they've got fires to put out, and much less spend time on forecasting goals, vision, all that in your business. But it's truly the only way to grow strategically.
Yeah, I think you can grow a lot with revenue. And that's what I think a lot of entrepreneurs or small businesses focus on the revenue and cash in the bank. But yeah, if you can truly forecast and predict maybe what's going to happen or see where things did happen in last year versus this year, and make educated decision on the data, it helps you you know get to the next level and really focus on growth.
Hmm. So how do you help your clients in that aspect?
Um, one of the things we try to focus on is gross margin. It kind of depends on what the business you're in. I love working with like adventure tour businesses just because we can look at like a per guest ratio or a per person. We can break it down to get to those numbers. It can be hard to get to the exact number because breaking out overhead versus the cost of goods sold. But we can do our best to try and get you to figure out what your margin is, and then if you can grow your margin, even if it's just like an upsell or maybe some added-on services you could sell and get your revenue to get you to a gross margin where you're actually making money, that can really make a big difference. But if you're not managing the financials and you're not looking at them, things can get out of control pretty quickly, especially in a small business. Um, and one small purchase that, the revenue to make that profitable it's a large amount of revenue. Some people don't realize.
Without using any names, or do you have any examples of you working with a client that you're able to identify something within their financials and then have them make a pivot and then
Yeah,
have a success story?
I think, the biggest thing is we actually started calling our cash flow, where did my cash go? And it's kind of from one of the people I work with. They was always, where'd my cash go? We had all this revenue. Where's my money? And he was never really taking into account like all these vehicles. He had a lot of vehicles that he was making the payments on every month, but you're only showing on the profit and loss statement the interest, and then the depreciation once a year. And so if we took that number and we could break it out over 12 months and truly show them, what those vehicles were costing him, it made a difference. I didn't work with him long enough to see if it made a difference long term for his success, but I think him understanding like all this money was going towards these vehicles that he wasn't seeing on the profit and loss. And so it showed him almost like he had a better margin throughout the year until the end of the year we dump in, the depreciation. So it was hard to manage month to month. And that's where we try to focus, even with like short-term rental properties, is showing the revenue in the month not the month you receive it, but the month that the people are staying at your property, and showing the gross revenue, also taking out, like the OTAs like Airbnb, via RBO fees, so you can truly be audited, and the numbers, shore up to what you're making, and that helps you be able to better forecast and understand your numbers as well, just because they're more realistic on a accrual basis, not necessarily just cash.
So, what's one financial key metric that you think every CEO should review on a regular basis?
Gosh, I don't know if I could pick one. I'd probably pick two. I'd pick cash flow, like we talked about, and then gross margin. If you could get to that, whether you're selling a product or you're selling a service, if you can determine what your gross profit is, truly track that month to month and set some metrics around it. Drive your team to improve on that and have things that you can truly manage and track in your system. Have systems in place to do that. That can make a huge difference. Everybody working towards the same goal. That's what I would probably say gross margin.
So you'd encourage people, rather than always look at revenue, it's easy to look at revenue, look at your gross margin,
Yeah, because
focus on the gross margin.
you can have great revenue, but if you're not, turning a profit, or the product's not priced right, it could be devastating. I know a lot of entrepreneurs, they say, oh, well, I did this part of the job, or I did that for uh, the specific thing in the workflow, and so it didn't cost any money. But then, like, your time's invaluable too. So like, you can't just say my time doesn't cost anything, because it's costing you to the business. So you have to put a dollar amount on that. Deciding what that dollar amount is kind of hard sometimes, because you feel like you're saving money by doing it yourself, but you could be costing yourself money by not letting somebody else do it. Somebody that, you know, you go to your general doctor for general things, but if you go, you got something wrong with your foot and it keeps continuous, you got to go see a foot doctor, because they're specialists in that. Like, they're trained in that. They've been working in that. So then, I kind of feel that same thing with this business, and it's hard for entrepreneurs, like we talked about, taking that hat off and or giving it to someone and trusting people with your financials. Man, that's a struggle, because uh, a lot of people we run into, they're embarrassed because their financials are behind, and so not only they don't know what their financials are, they're behind, and so it's a something you have to work through and build up trust with people so that they can show you kind of like their dirty laundry. You can help them
Yeah.
clean it up. But
I think even as an entrepreneur, even you're looking at the money and you're like, I don't want to spend $100, $1,000 on this service, but in actuality, like you said, it's costing you more than that $1,000 because of your time that you could be spending on something else. I think um, it's a hard balance to or it's a hard challenge to overcome, especially as a small entrepreneur when you don't want to spend the money.
yeah, yeah, it's easier to just say, "Hey, I'll do it myself." But then, how many times can you say that? And maybe you're losing a sale, or you're not working with an employee, or
Hmm.
your time's not being put to where it needs to be in the business.
So I know you spend a lot of time, your time that you're not working in your businesses, you're spending time in Latin America teaching men and women business principles. Tell me about that.
Yeah, the church I go to, we have a strong men's ministry, and this was 5 years ago now. I went on a mission trip down to Honduras, and we went to kind of like a Shark Tank program where we teach entrepreneurs about specific things. I teach about bookkeeping, and just saw their passion, to want to succeed. A lot of people are leaving the country to get different jobs or make more money somewhere else, but there's a lot of them there that are being, resilient and staying and saying, "Hey, I'm going to make this work somehow." Um, and I just love the passion they had. Also, just the program we had, they were building their business around God. So it's to me, there, it's like in America, you're in corporate or just places, and it's kind of like a hush thing. Like, I don't, you don't want to share your faith. It might be breaking policy or things like that. But it's just like they're just so upfront with it. I met a guy from the Dominican Republic when I was in Honduras, and he kept talking about this book he was reading. Like, he'd be like, "Oh, I read about this guy," or "What was he doing?" And "Oh, what would he do in this situation?" And like, "What book are you talking about?" He's like, "Well, the Bible." "Yeah, it's talking about the Bible." And like, oh my gosh, that's so like, we were staying up late just talking about things you could do with your life and based on the Bible. Here in the U.S., it's hard to find people that'll do that, on a regular basis. And I wouldn't say a shame to it, but it's just like it's kind of hidden. Like, got to keep my faith somewhere, in check, but not there. You know, he was going back to his country, and he says he only hires people that are following God, because that's how he's building his business. Building it for followers, and to be the servant mentality for that as well. So I just kind of fell in love with the people, and just a little thing can make a huge difference there. I feel like, I don't want to say they're behind the times, but with my business experience, people would ask me questions and I'd know the answer. And I don't think it was just me knowing the answer. I feel like I was put in the right place. God put me there, and I had the right answers because I'd had those experiences or gone through things they had. Maybe it was years ago, but it was something that's real for them right now. Um, the
So
banking
what are some
system.
challenges that they have that American businesses owners may just not understand?
Um, I feel like there's some corruption, and there's a lot of people being taken advantage of. There's just the interest rates. If you ever heard of interest rates on loans, like it's, I don't know the exact number, so it's probably like 30%. So for an entrepreneur to take out a loan, like, they'll never get out of it unless they're super successful. But even then, they're probably paying on a loan for the rest of their life, it seems like. So teaching them to be financially astute and understand loans, fees. And it was even different in Peru. I ended up going to Peru 2 years ago, and the financial system there is even a little bit more complex with the taxing and stuff like that. But understanding your loans, it's not like the U.S. We have a lot of rules. Like, we have to show when they show you an interest rate, that's what it needs to be. But there's a lot of hidden fees and potential. Yeah, Honduras, I feel like it's a little bit more. I guess corruption's probably a bad word to use for it, but there is some people being taken advantage of for sure.
So you're heading out to Peru in a few months. Is this with the same program with Emprende, or is this through a different organization?
This is through an organization called Wonder Voyage. And so that's kind of started out of the Emprende from Serve Hope, where we were in Honduras, and they're in a lot of other countries as well. But I met a guy, Cesar, there, and me and him became real good friends. And so I've been to Peru once, and then I'm decided I'm going back this year in August, and we're gonna teach on bookkeeping and just kind of like people management. Your business is only as successful as your people are, and they're the people that are working with your clients a lot of the time. And so I'm gonna talk to them about that as well, and we're gonna put on a good conference and bring some seed money for some businesses, either to invest in what they've already got going, or some people are coming that have business ideas and they're going to talk to us about them, and we'll kind of vote on where we want to give that money to try and help make them successful.
That's cool. So how can this basic education transform the communities? Have you seen some transformation happen that's come out of these events that you put on?
Yeah, it's the I've gone to Honduras 3 years in a row, and so it was great to see like the business owners that we met with, the first year we were there, and some of them are actually taking the reins and being part of the program to help, further it along. And that's kind of our goal long term, is to make it, self-sustainable. The small businesses helping each other. We're kind of building a community of entrepreneurs and like-minded individuals, and using each other as resources. Somebody might be going through a issue with marketing and they're not sure how to do it. Get with the business that's already done that, or even hire, a marketing business, and you're supporting them, and they'll support you in your ventures. And so it's just been great to see the same people and have some consistency, and also just learn from them. I tell them every time I come present, like, God's a lot of times they'll give me a topic and they'll say, "Hey, we want you to talk about this," and I'll be like, "Well, what? I don't know if I'm the best person to talk about that, but I think it's God working in me to come teach on something that I need to work on myself." So, and I'll take the time and really, try to learn about how that specific topic is in Honduras, not just the U.S., and try to present to them. I want to do the best to make them successful and give them tools to succeed. So that kind of makes me become better in that specific thing itself as well.
If people want to learn more about this Peru ministry, is it a ministry or is it a business that the conference is put on by?
It's a nonprofit, the Wonder Voyage,
Okay.
that supports it, and then Cesar's there. Yeah, a lot of the people there are all volunteers that come, and then we all volunteer our time and donate some money for the seed money. So it's good.
How do people find out more information about Wonder Voyage?
You could go to, I believe it's wondervoyage.com, but my website also, I have links on there. If you go to Profit Ready Books, we have a kind of global impact tab that you could go to and kind of learn about what we're doing. With Profit Ready Books, we're taking some of the funds we make to enable this. And of course, right now, since we're still kind of in our growth mode, I'm taking my own finances just to make sure I can still get down there and help these businesses and learn from them as well as they learn.
And what's the best way to connect with the glamping business in Montana?
But you could go to Yellowstone Dreamin Retreat.com, and that'll take you to our landing page. You can learn about the glamping tents, and then also there's a tab on there for adventures, so you can plan a tour with one of our local guides from there as well. And we've got lots of resources too, just to plan your trip to Yellowstone. My sister that works up there loves to be involved in helping people have a great trip up there, because a lot of times it's just a once in a lifetime opportunity to go to Yellowstone, and we try to make it the best for you.
Awesome. So, if you want to leave the audience with a few more thoughts on Profit Ready Books or anything else, what would it be?
Um, with Profit Ready Books, I feel like I have trying to build a servant mentality, just to, I'm not here just to do your books. Like I want to learn about your business and make you successful. Because if you're successful, it makes me successful. And that's uh, kind of our mentality with the business is to help you grow, and we'll grow with you. I guess that's how I would, yeah, leave.
And not only that, the money that you make through your businesses goes towards your events in Peru and Honduras, and it becomes some seed money for other business. So it's this perpetual growth and kingdom um, mindset that's building not just um, your business, but also it's impacting other nations around the world.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, Profit Ready Books, we want to have an impact locally, but also, globally. I want to continue to be able to help other people, and that'd be my goal long term, is to get it big enough that I can spend even more time helping other small businesses that have a need that's different than ours here in the U.S. and where a little bit of help can make a big impact.
So I'll leave a link in the description below for Profit Ready Books and the Yellowstone Dreamin Retreat and Adventures. And I'd encourage you to reach out to Doug to have him do your books. And you'll be making a kingdom impact, not just locally, but also globally around the world. So appreciate your time, Doug, today. This has been really great. And looking forward to hearing about your trip from Peru and Yucatan.
All right, great. Yeah, great seeing you, Richie, and thanks for what you're doing with your programming. I wish you great success with it as well.
All right. Thank you.